Hey everybody, welcome back to the Mama Shoshana channel. I am Shoshana Mizell and I'm so happy that you're here. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment if you feel inspired to. So today is part 2 of the 5-part series of why I've been married 5 times. I will be right back. Hopefully stay and join me. So here we go. I'm just gonna go right into the second one. So with my second husband, I'll tell you the transition here. So when my first husband physically abused our son one time, I left. That was it. So the second husband with him was that we both seemed to have as much trauma as one another. One thing that was a pattern for me when I would meet a prospective boyfriend was to immediately tell them all of my trauma. So those are all the things that I dumped on my second husband when we first had our date. And he did as well with me. So when we had that sense of caring or loving for each other, when that feeling started happening, it was a bond of trauma. And a therapist one time told me that sometimes trauma bonds can feel more powerful than positive ones. So with my second husband, I feel like my projection onto him as far as my childhood went was one facet of my father. And that was the fact that my father had no verbal boundaries on a sexual level. My father, had a tremendous amount of his own trauma. This behavior that I would recognize from my childhood in my second husband became much more uncomfortable. So intimacy started to feel like I was being abused again. And that is one of the ways that post-traumatic stress disorder manifested in my life. I didn't even know that I was suffering from PTSD. And my second husband would get very angry because he knew my father abused me. And he felt, why does he, my second husband, have to suffer for what my father did? I did not know how to get out of a marriage in a healthy manner. Again, like I said in my last podcast, the way my mother got out of a life that she couldn't handle was she killed herself, which was a very permanent solution to what could have been a temporary situation. My first 2 husbands were, different facets of my father. And again, I always like to say that I had at least 50%, sometimes more, responsibility in the dysfunction of both my first 2 marriages. I eventually was able to leave that marriage, and all through our marriage, which we were together about 11 or 12 years, there was infidelity on both our parts. We were 2 very sick and suffering people. I was going to therapy once, sometimes twice a week. This is stuff that kept me so weighted down with so much guilt. And a lot of the guilt was appropriate guilt. I had made a vow to be faithful. I had no idea how to do that. I did not have the skills. I had so much deep emotional and psychological damage that I only knew how to act from the instinct of survival. And the only way I knew how to survive was to feed my ego so that I could stay afloat in life. Now, of course, in the book that I'm writing, which will be done soon, I go into complete honest detail from the very earliest memory I have through present day. And so this all makes sense as it unravels and you realize, what I've been through. The reason I'm doing this is not just to, unload myself or reveal myself, because this is a vulnerable thing. But I am completely willing to do this because I want to help other men and women, however you identify, to know that you're not alone. There are reasons why you make decisions that may not be the healthiest for you. And they usually always stem from the need to survive. Survival mechanisms have been something that I have constantly depended on, and they no longer serve me. As I started getting healthier, I had to learn new coping mechanisms. It was not easy, it was scary. But I went to therapy and I started becoming really, really honest. We all have strange behaviors that manifest as a result of trauma. And I think as we get healthier, we start to get that feeling of what it feels like to forgive ourselves. And as I worked harder and understood myself more and accepted the fact that these are the actions I took, it's the only thing I knew, the only tools I had. And as I developed healthier tools, the guilt started going away because I didn't stay on that path of acting out. I was able to become the woman that I felt that my creator always wanted me to be. I was able to go along in life and have a sense of dignity and self-worth and have a self-esteem that was more inclusive of self-love for myself and respect for others. So again, thank you so much for being here. And I honestly would expose myself emotionally and my past the best to my ability to help anybody else out there. Yes, I'm willing to be vulnerable. I'm willing to be open to criticism and judgment if there's one person that I can help. So thank you. I love you, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.